Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My wife was having an affair with her father. This occurred almost 10 years ago, but she may still be with him for all I know. When this occurred, I hired a private investigator. The issue is, I was already aware of it. I simply wanted someone to assure me it wasn't all in my brain, and that I wasn't insane. The PI felt so awful for me that he refused to take my pay. Then he took me to a bar for a beverage. If I could, I'd want to thank him for it. At the time, it meant a lot. I realized I'd never written about this before. I mean, isn't that what this subreddit is for? You're getting stuff off your chest. So here's what I'd want to get off my chest. It resulted in a bitter and sad divorce. Long before we married, she admitted to me that her father had done things to her between the ages of 13 and 17. Her mother knew her and treated her as if she were the other lady. She allegedly told a friend once, who alerted the police, who investigated, and it was all disregarded as her wanting attention. Later, I discovered that she had told them she made it all up for attention, so they dropped it. I was naturally sad for all that had occurred to her, but I was pleased she trusted me enough to confide in me. I also thought that everything was behind her since she had no plans to see her relatives. Understandable. In an odd turn of events, she now wanted to reintroduce her family into her life. I had no idea how to approach it. A part of me knew it was a poor idea, and another part of me wasn't the sort of guy who would attempt to tell someone they couldn't bring their family back into their life, because I'm not controlling and don't want to be. Nonetheless, it caught me off guard. When we slept over at their place for the weekend, I realized something was wrong. I had come downstairs, and her mother was seated at the kitchen table, staring at the wide-open basement door. She was tense and on the edge of her seat. When I began chatting to her, mother-in-law, she practically pretended she and I weren't there, and that all that mattered was that door. It instantly occurred to me, where was my wife? I inquired, and she said, downstairs with her father, never making eye contact with me and still focused on the door. I made a move to walk downstairs, and she warned me not to. I halted for a split second because I was feeling apprehensive, but then went down to the basement. As I walked down, I got a glimpse of my wife getting off her father's lap out of the corner of my eye. He was seated in front of his computer in his computer chair. She was dressed in the tank top she wore to bed and her short shorts, made out of soft cotton. Shorts that are so short that you can easily slide them over a trouser leg for easy access. I thought I saw her adjust her pant leg, and he was wearing a long, extremely long t-shirt that he was now covering with. I couldn't believe it, and I honestly didn't know what to say or do at the time, since I wasn't sure if I had interrupted what I thought I had disrupted. I remember her asking me what I was up to. It was early. I'm not sure what I said to her. I was having a strange out-of-body experience. She inquired as to why I had come down. Again, I'm not sure what I offered her as an explanation, but I recall not wanting to confront the issue, so I pretended to be looking for something. And I made 3 observations. 1. They both seemed to be interrupted caught. 2. She appeared hot and out of breath. 3. One of her highs, where she had repaired the pant leg, was pouring wet. She was dripping. I assumed she wanted me to leave the basement since she continued to assist me in my search for whatever I said I was searching for. But everyone agreed that whatever it was wasn't down there. Nonetheless, she seemed to want to remain down there with him, and for me to return up. I told her I'd use the other computer, there were 2, down there, but she insisted I go back up to cook breakfast. I ignored her and began working on the computer. She simply stood there between us for a few moments as I and her father stared wide-eyed at our monitors. When I inquired if she was okay, she answered yes and uncomfortably lingered there for a few moments more before walking back up. Needless to say, I was overcome with raw emotion, partly in denial, partly in deadly wrath, partly in question about my own sanity, partly shattered and doing everything I couldn't shout. But yet, it was a contentious divorce. Story 2. Girlfriend cheated on me, and my master plan of revenge began. My girlfriend, 22 female, now ex, admitted to me, 24 male, that she had been talking to someone else on Instagram and had been drawn to him, but she felt bad and regretted it. I messed up. Why? You're probably wondering why nothing occurred. Well, I have an uncanny capacity to detect falsehoods, and this was the greatest nonsense I'd ever heard. She had been chilly from the beginning of the relationship, so feeling bad for just conversing didn't seem like her. Because I was too close to her, I tried to let it go and concentrate on work, but something was odd and I could still feel it. The paranoia was devouring me from inside. We became estranged over the following several weeks, and she had been remarkably sociable, going out with various friends, or so she said, despite the fact that she had few. This provided me enough information to deduce that she had only given me half the truth and was still up to no good. I'm still perplexed as to why someone would half confess something in order to continue doing it. The relationship was very much dead in every way, and I had advised splitting it up since I saw no value in continuing, but she kept on trying and trying because I had found her a nice job and she was making great progress owing to my friends. Something snapped inside of me when I understood this was her motive for going on. I had stood by her side through unimaginably familiar stuff, professional disappointments, and personal betrayals from her pals. I gave her all I had all the time. I lived for the sake of making her happy. But in truth, she was living on my dime and keeping me in the dark. As the that I was, I began scheming my icy cold vengeance in silence. I called a random female, J, who gave me her phone number months before these occurrences, but I never got to call since I was loyal. I explained why I hadn't phoned, and she agreed. We barely flirted on our first date, but she shocked me with a kiss at the conclusion. It made me feel uncomfortable and guilty. I waited for my girlfriend to go in the shower the following day and snooped through her communications. I found out what I had assumed for weeks. She had kept the show running and at extraordinary heights. Going out numerous times per week, exchanging photographs, often, and even at times when I was with her. Copying and copying related texts she sent me when we first met. Even posing for him in the clothing that my folks had given her for Christmas. My guilt was thrown out the window. I managed to keep myself from panicking out and exposing her. This gave me all the bravery and blind wrath I needed, so I contacted Jay again that night and carried it out in the most spectacularly rage-fueled manner I could think. I kept this up for the following 2 months or so, having with Jay as often as I could, and as much as I could while still acting like a regular boyfriend. Some days I spent the whole evening Jay in order to see my girlfriend at night, and her even more while focusing on the hatred in my thoughts. After that, I generally left out little clues of skepticism in her direction in order to make her feel nervous and guilty. In the end, I ended things with my girlfriend after discovering her falsehoods, but I kept my secrets to myself so that I could maintain my moral superiority over hers. Even when I gave her the evidence, she denied everything. She grieved for days over that reconciliation. This section made me feel as though it was all for nothing and never truly provided me closure. Jay became at ease around me, but I was already immersed in the story of this scheme. I couldn't bear the thought of dating anybody else at this point, so I had to end things with her as well. In a much less dramatic manner, since she was somewhat aware of what was going on with me and was mostly interested in after a few months, the lady my ex despised, because to her popularity among mutual male acquaintances, came to come work with me. To my surprise, we grew close but not serious. When my ex found out and contacted me to confirm it, she was still upset over the breakup. Instead of responding, I traveled to her home to inform her in person and see her disintegrate. Edit. All of this nonsense did nothing except screw with my brain. Her infidelity caused me fear about other people betraying me. But what I did demonstrated that I, too, was a jerk like no other. Since realizing this, my attitude about women and relationships has changed dramatically. I would never do anything like this again, but it had to happen for me to learn and realize the repercussions of letting oneself go with wrath and hatred. It merely causes discomfort and does not promote recovery. Edit 2. For those who feel sorry for Jay, I only picked her as my accomplice since she was in a relationship at the time she gave me her phone number and so was attempting to cheat. In essence, I believed I was doing justice in more than one name. Nonetheless, I feel awful for her. She didn't deserve to be caught in my garbage and abused in this manner. She was the only one with the foresight to remain a ghost indefinitely. I embrace your contempt with open arms.